Thank you. We shall remain standing for the anthem. We'll start with the anthem for the Republic of South Africa, followed by the AU and the SADC anthem.
Original and universal integration towards unity and harmony. Cradle of humanity, cradle of our
Thank you. We may be seated. Good morning. Bonjour, bon dia. Welcome to the Southern African Development Community SADC Solidarity Conference with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. This conference is being held in support of the right to self-determination of the Sahrawi people, and this is consistent with the United Nations Charter and the Constitutive Act of the African Union. My name is Barbara Lopi from the SADC Secretariat Public Relations, and I've been mandated to direct this official opening ceremony. Without further ado, allow me to introduce the high table. And up front, we have the current chairperson of the Southern African Development Community, His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia. Shall we applaud for the President? Seated to the left of the SADC chairperson is His Excellency Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the Republic of South Africa, who is also our host. Seated to the right of the SADC chairperson is Honorable Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of International Relations and Cooperation in the Republic of Namibia, but who is also the chairperson of the SADC Council of Ministers. And seated to the left side of President Ramaphosa is the Deputy Executive Secretary for Corporate Affairs at the SADC Secretariat, Ambassador Joseph Norris, who is representing the Executive Secretary of SADC, Her Excellency Dr. Stegomena Lawrence Tax. Chairperson, allow me also to recognize the presence of the heads of state and government or their representatives and the dignitaries and our invited guests within this room. Let me start by, we are here for Sahrawi. Allow me to introduce His Excellency Mr. Brahim Ghali, the President of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. If you can just wave so that they recognize you. Thank you. Seated next to Sahrawi is one of our founding fathers also in this room, His Excellency Mr. Yoweri Museveni, the President of Uganda. In our midst, we also have from the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Mr. Emerson Mnangagwa, the President of Zimbabwe. From the Kingdom of Lesotho, we have Prime Minister, His Excellency Dr. Thomas Tabane. From the Republic of Botswana, we have the Vice President, Mr. Slamba Sokwane. From Angola, we have the Deputy President, His Excellency Mr. Benito de Souza. From Cuba, we have Her Excellency Mrs. Ines Maria Chapman, the Vice President of the Council of State. From Algeria, we have His Excellency Mr. Ramantane Lamara, the Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs. From the Democratic Republic of Congo, we have the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Elunga Ngoyi Kasongo. The Kingdom of Eswatini, we have Dr. Tambo Gina, Minister of Economic Planning and Development. From Malawi, we have Mr. Samuel Tembenu, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. From Mozambique, we have Mr. Eusebo Lambo Gondiwa, Minister of Combatants. From Nigeria, we have Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Godfrey Jedio Onyema. From Sao Tome and Principe, we have the Minister of Justice, Public Administration and Human Rights, Ms. Iveta da Gracia dos Santos. From Seychelles, we have the designated minister, Ms. Makuzo Mondon. From Venezuela, we have the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. George Ariza. From the United Republic of Tanzania, we have the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Dr. Damas Ndubaro. From Nicaragua, we have the Special Envoy to the President, Mr. Mohamed Farah Lester. From Timor-Leste, we also have the Envoy to the President, Ms. Roque Feliz Jesus. From Mauritius, we have the High Commissioner for the Republic of Mauritius, Her Excellency Dr. P. Vijay Lakshman. From Kenya, we have Mr. Ababu Namwamba, the Chief Administrative Secretary. In our midst, we also have a special invited guest, the former president for Nigeria, His Excellency Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo, the former Prime Minister for Foreign Affairs in the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Simbarache Mbegegwe, from the United Kingdom, we have High Commissioner for the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, His Excellency Mr. Nigel Philip Casey. And from Germany, we have the First Secretary, Dr. Anna Schroeder. In our midst, Chairperson, we also have members of the Diplomatic Corps and also invited guests from former liberation movements and political parties and the civil society. The list is long, but maybe I'll just acknowledge the names of the representation that we have. We have ANC from the Republic of South Africa. We have SWAPO from Namibia. We have Frelimo, MPLA from Angola, Democratic Progressive Party, ZANU-PF, Zimbabwe, Polisario Front. From the civil society, we have PACON, Black Caucus, COSATU, South African Communist Party, Committee of Intelligence and Security Services of Africa, CISA, Friends of Civil Society, Western Sahara Forum of Southern Africa, SADC Parliamentary Forum, SADC Council of NGOs, SADC Lawyers Association, Human Rights Defender, ACCOD, Pan-African Foundation, Sharpeville, National Youth Council of Namibia, and Friends of the Western Sahara. Thank you. Without wasting time, Chairperson, I will now call upon our host, the President of South Africa, to give us the welcome remarks. Your Excellency, sir.
Thank you, Program Director. Your Excellency, Dr. Hage Geingob, the President of the Republic of Namibia and Chairperson of our regional body, SADC. Your Excellency, Mr. Ibrahim Ghali, President of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Your Excellency, President Yoweri Museveni, President of Uganda. Your Excellency, President Emerson Mnangagwa, President of Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, Dr. Tom Tabane, Prime Minister of Lesotho. Your Excellencies, heads of delegations. Your Excellency, former President Obasanjo, representatives of the chairpersons of the African Union and the African Commission, esteemed comrades from the liberation movements and governing political parties in our region and beyond, leaders of non-governmental organizations and fraternal organizations and trade unions, Your Excellency Ambassador Joseph Norris, Deputy Executive Secretary of SADC, distinguished guests, members of the media, ministers and deputy ministers. On behalf of the people and the government of the Republic of South Africa, I would like to welcome all of you to South Africa. We are honored indeed to be hosting this historic act of solidarity with the Sahrawi people. It is fitting that this conference is taking place in a building named after Oliver Reginald Tambo, a legendary statesman and a committed internationalist who was unwavering in his support for the struggle of the self-determination of the Sahrawi people. It was Oliver Reginald Tambo who affirmed, as we do today, that international solidarity is an imperative for progressive peoples everywhere. Building bridges of friendship is a natural and just course of action for all who share the vision of a world free from subjugation, a world where the strong do not exert their dominance through force of arms on others. In the many times he addressed the international community on the anti-apartheid struggle, Comrade O.R. Tambo spoke of the role of men and women of conscience in giving voice to the struggles of oppressed peoples everywhere. Gathered here today are men and women of conscience. You stood by South Africa during the struggle for our own liberation, and today you are here to affirm your solidarity with the Sahrawi people in their quest for self-determination. The presence of representatives from the national liberation movements of our region, from the African Union and the African Union Commission, from the SADC and our other friends in the international community sends the clearest message that we are with the people of Western Sahara. We stand by you, we support you, and we will never forget you. This conference reflects our commitment as the countries of Africa, supported by our friends in the international community, to call for a just, acceptable, and lasting solution to the situation in Western Sahara. It follows on a decision made at the 37th Summit of the SADC Heads of State and Government that took place here in Pretoria in 2017. It was the Palestinian poet Muhammad Darwish, who himself had known the pain of dispossession and exile, who once wrote, "A person can only be born in one place. However, he may die several times elsewhere, in the exiles and prisons, and in a homeland transformed by the occupation and oppression into a nightmare." Close quotes. We cannot but be moved by the plight of the Sahrawi people. It has been 43 years since Western Sahara was annexed, and for these 4 decades, the people of Western Sahara have had to endure dispossession, displacement, conflict, and the deprivation of their liberties. The Sahrawi people have lived in refugee camps in Algeria since the 1970s, making this one of the longest humanitarian crises the world has known. In these camps, men, women, children live in desperate conditions, relying on international aid to survive. This situation of the Sahrawi people is a blight on the human conscience, all the more so that it has endured for far too long. It has been 3 decades since the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 621 of 1998, first calling for a referendum on self-determination for the people of Western Sahara. But despite successive Security Council resolutions and decisions of the OAU and the African Union, this critical step has not taken place. The ultimate result has been that the people of Western Sahara have been deprived of the most fundamental right of a people, the right to determine their own destiny. We are here to hear from the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic and Polisario what we can do to aid them in advancing their cause. While we are here to express our unwavering solidarity with the just cause of our brothers and sisters, any actions going forward must be decided upon by the Sahrawi people and not any external entity. We are here to deliberate on the way in which we can use our respective positions with the United Nations and the African Union to advocate for urgent implementation without delay of all the UN Security Council and AU decisions on Western Sahara, including that of holding a referendum. It is only through the implementation of these decisions that a solution to the Western Sahara question can be achieved. This must be done in the spirit of multilateralism, based on the Charter of the United Nations and the applicable provisions of the African Union. We continue to urge all parties involved to negotiate in good faith and without preconditions to ensure that an enduring solution is found. We once again affirm our support for the work being done by the AU and the UN, particularly the initiatives taken by the UN Secretary General. We are immensely encouraged by the efforts of the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara, former German President Horst Kohler, who is facilitating a political dialogue between the Kingdom of Morocco and Polisario. This is a development to be welcomed and encouraged. As countries of the SADC region who have waged struggles in pursuit of our own liberation, we know too well the pain of being deprived of the right to be treated as full citizens in the land of one's birth. The pain of the Sahrawi people, their trauma brought about by the displacement and exile is ours too. So long as the aspirations of the people of Western Sahara are not met, we will fall short of realizing the vision of the AU's Agenda 2063 of a continent at peace with itself. As a collective, let us reaffirm our support for the UN process that seeks to bring these two African nations, Morocco and the SADR, back to the negotiating table. As lovers of peace and freedom, as men and women of conscience, let us step up our international solidarity efforts in both word and deed with the people of Western Sahara, with Polisario, and with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. It was international solidarity that brought down the barbaric system of apartheid, and it is international solidarity that will see realized the foremost aspiration of the people of Western Sahara to be independent and free. I am told that the deliberations held on the first day of this conference have been most fruitful and that consensus has been reached on a number of key issues. Let us continue to harness this spirit of cooperation, of solidarity, and of a multilateral pursuit of a continent in which all its people are free. I once again welcome you all and wish you well on this final day of this conference. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Before I call upon the chairperson to give the remarks, I just wanted to highlight that former President of Nigeria, His Excellency Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo, and former Foreign Affairs Minister for Zimbabwe, Mr. Simbarache Mbengegwe, are here as lead discussants for the working groups that were happening yesterday, and they will be later be giving outcomes from those working groups. And I realized that I omitted one member state in the introduction. My apologies. Zambia is represented by His Excellency, Mr. Emmanuel Mwamba. Apologies. Thank you. I now call upon the chairperson to deliver his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa and the host of the SADC Solidarity Conference with Western Sahara, Your Excellencies, Head of State and Government, former Presidents, Honorable Ministers, Deputy Executive Secretary of SADC, Your Excellencies, members of diplomatic corps, distinguished delegates from former liberation movements, media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, the government and the people of South Africa for accepting to host this landmark conference and for the wonderful hospitality accorded to my delegation and I since our arrival here in this historic city of Tshwane. In the same vein, I thank all heads of state and government and representatives from friendly countries for their presence here today. See the people from Caribbean countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and many of them here. We appreciate your presence here. We have gathered here in the spirit of Pan-Africanism to reaffirm our solidarity for the people of Western Sahara as they struggle for their inalienable rights to self-determination and independence. In this regard, allow me to quote the words of South African icon, the late Comrade Oliver Reginald Tambo, former president of the ANC, when he addressed the 50th session of the AU Coordinating Committee for the Liberation of Africa, that was in Harare on 13th May 1988. He said, the objectives of the committee will have become achievable because the OAU Coordinating Committee for Liberation of Africa carried out its mandate, sweeping aside all obstacles to the emancipation of the peoples of Africa from the shores of the Mediterranean to the confluence of the Indian and Atlantic Oceans, unquote. Comrade Oliver Tambo envisioned the total liberation of Africa from colonial occupation and oppression. Although many African countries achieved this feat, Western Sahara remains occupied until today. It is therefore befitting that we have convened today in the OR Tambo building, demonstrative of our concerted efforts towards an international solidarity in a cause of freedom for the Sahrawi people. The people of Africa are in the process of establishing the Africa we want under our strategic framework for socio-economic transformation, Agenda 2063. We have explicitly outlined our 7 aspirations under this framework. And I'm not going to quote them. I have them, but I'm not going to quote them. These aspirations will not be achieved in the absence of total freedom of all Africa's people. The prolonged impasse on the Western Sahara issue will have grave consequences on the functioning of our Union. We can only move forward when freedom is guaranteed to all our citizens. As said by the revolutionary icon of Pan-Africanism, Kwame Nkrumah, freedom is not something that one people can bestow on another as a gift. They claim it as their own and none can keep it from them, unquote. Freedom is not a gift to the people of Western Sahara. It is a right. No one can bestow freedom on the Sahrawi people. For freedom is their birthright, which no one can keep from them, and which they must claim as their own. We should pause and ponder the question, why do the people of Western Sahara not enjoy freedom in the same manner as the rest of Africa's people? I'm aware of the growing divisions on our continent on this issue. There is an agenda to divide and by so doing render our support for Western Sahara ineffective. These tactics were employed by countries which oppress us and those who supported the inhuman oppression we endured. We are told that there is another meeting going on. It's not parallel because at the ministerial level, this is a summit being held in Morocco to coincide with our meeting here. And some SADC members are there. We should therefore ask ourselves, are we as SADC united in support of the Sahrawi people in their fight for freedom and self-determination? Or do we need a new approach? That's the question. I remind this gathering that SADC was opposed to the admission of the Kingdom of Morocco into the AU fold. However, the majority of AU members felt it best for Morocco to be included in the AU fraternity so that we can discuss these issues as brothers and sisters, we are told. Now that the Kingdom of Morocco has been admitted into AU fraternity, we thought that we will work together at African Union and at the United Nations level to ensure that all of us, the people of Western Sahara, can enjoy their right, their birthright to independence and self-determination. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this past Saturday, March 23, we met at Quito, Angola, to mark the inaugural commemoration of Southern African Liberation Day and the anniversary of the Battle of Quito, the defining moment in the history of our struggle for independence, when through solidarity, the brave men and women of the Cuban Revolutionary Forces, the People's Armed Forces of Liberation of Angola, FABLA, and People's Liberation Army of Namibia, PLAN, formed a tripartite coalition to achieve a victory which was the harbinger of the liberation of our region. We remembered the international wave of solidarity that helped push us towards the attainment of our freedom, thanks to the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, People's Republic of China, and Democratic Republic of Korea, for all-round political, military, and material support and assistance rendered throughout our struggle for national liberation. On the continental front, the leaders of the frontline states in Nigeria provided invaluable and consistent support to our struggle, together with the Scandinavian countries and many other friendly nations who were steadfast in providing political, diplomatic, and material support to the liberation movements. It is this solidarity and support that SWAPO received from the international community that enabled us to sustain our near 4-decade-long resistance and struggle for liberation until we emerged triumphant and celebrating our independence just a few days ago, last week. Namibia, therefore, sympathizes with those who are denied their right to self-determination. As I said, we are denied that right. We had to fight, and there was solidarity given to us from people from all over the world And therefore it would be criminal for us not to give that solidarity to Sahrawi people. We have a moral imperative to stand in solidarity with our Sahrawi brothers and sisters until their right to self-determination will be achieved, and will be achieved indeed. We should therefore be determined to use this conference to rekindle the flames of Pan-African solidarity, which ignited the burning fire of liberation that swept across our region, resulting in the complete and total independence of Southern Africa. Let us be committed and unwavering in our support to the people of Western Sahara. As we enjoy our hard-earned freedom and democracy, so should the people of Sahrawi enjoy theirs very soon. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I wish to commend the AU Commission for its commitment towards effective implementation of the Nouakchott decision, setting up the African mechanism to facilitate the search for a solution that is in line with the relevant decisions of the African Union and UN Security Council resolutions. SADC reaffirms its commitment to fully cooperate with all parties to support the African mechanism. Furthermore, we welcome and commend efforts by His Excellency Horst Köhler, former President of Germany and UN Secretary General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, who has initiated negotiations between Kingdom of Morocco and the Polisario Front. I must say, me personally, I'm a little bit disappointed because I don't know what's going on. As a chairman of SADC, but it's good to start to talk. But I hope the talks will result in desired results. But to be careful. When you are moving, you could be sidetracked. But I'm saying on behalf, that's now me as Namibia, but as SADC, we support. We support these efforts and endeavor to continue working with him in line with the UN settlement plan on Western Sahara. This conference is an affirmation of the importance we attach to the plight of the people of Western Sahara to achieve their inalienable rights to freedom. The international community should continue to support efforts aimed at resolving once and for all the question of Western Sahara, the last colony on the continent, to hold a free and fair referendum to determine their destiny. The decolonization of Africa will not be complete until the day the people of Western Sahara decide the fate of their future status through a free and fair referendum. Distinguished delegates, the Africa we want is an Africa which is characterized by peace, stability, and unity. These are the prerequisites for the pursuit of our aspirations, which can only be achieved through the establishment of united and integrated African continent. Therefore, our call for the freedom of the people of Western Sahara is not aimed at dividing the continent. Instead, it is aimed at fulfilling the dreams of Africans' founding fathers, extraordinary personalities like Julius Kambaraka Nyerere, who believed that, and I quote, "No nation has the right to make decisions for another nation. No people for another people," unquote. Let us bring to fruition the dream of our founding fathers, that let us build, therefore, a free, united, and prosperous African house. An African house in which the people of Western Sahara will enjoy the freedom to pursue their aspirations and thereby regain their dignity. I wish to thank you all for honoring this invitation. Your presence today is testament to our unity of purpose. Once more, I reaffirm on behalf of the Republic of Namibia and for SADC, and on behalf of SADC, our full and unequivocal support for the democratic rights of the people of Western Sahara to self-determination and national independence. It is now my pleasure to declare the SADC Solidarity Conference with Western Sahara officially open, and I thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Indeed, solidarity has been the key word since we started the conference yesterday, preparing for today. And as we're singing the anthems, one of the sentences in the lyrics for the SADC anthem caught my eye, and it says, "And let us raise the banner of solidarity." And indeed, this conference speaks to that. We are here to raise the banner of solidarity, in solidarity with the Western Sahara. At this point, we will now listen to the statement from His Excellency, Mr. Brahim Ghali, the President of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. His statement was to be followed with a video on the Western Sahara, but we are having challenges. The sound clip is not very clear, so we are not going to show that video. We hope the statement will highlight some of the issues. Thank you, Your Excellency. You have the floor.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فخامة الرئيس سيريل رامابوسا رئيس جمهورية جنوب أفريقيا، البلد الذي ينظم هذه الندوة التاريخية للتضامن مع الشعب الصحراوي، شكراً جزيلاً على هذه المبادرة. كما أشكركم فخامة الرئيس على حفاوة الاستقبال وحسن الضيافة الذي حظينا به أثناء وجودنا في بلدنا الثاني. فخامة الرئيس جيبكوب رئيس جمهورية ناميبيا، الرئيس الدوري لمجموعة صادق، أصحاب الفخامة والمعالي والسعادة، السيدات والسادة، إنه لفخر عظيم لي شخصياً ولحكومتي وشعب بلادي
and the people of my country to have this dedicated SADC's International Conference to the solidarity with the Sahrawi Republic and its people in the land of Nelson Mandela and in Oliver Tambo's whole. First of all, allow me to express my deepest condolences, sympathy and solidarity with our brothers in Mozambique, Zimbabwe and Malawi following the dangerous latest floods and their tragic consequences in the region recently. In the beginning, I would like to express my thanks and gratitude and appreciation to all the leaders and the member states of SADC for this historic initiative, from leaders, governments and people for this historic event, which reflects the natural and harmonious position of the peoples and countries of this region and their central role in liberating Africa from colonialism and apartheid. I also would like to extend my thanks to all the supportive delegations coming from all continents of the earth. It appears that the distance has not affected the amount of support that we have received. It is on a very wide dimension and meanings. This is one of the messages and prized values framed by the revolutionary and progressive momentum in Africa in general, and in this region in particular, stems from the universal human values, specifically the values of freedom, dignity, justice, and peace. This conference is a message to demand the attainment of justice through the support of the Sahrawi state, which reflects the will of the Sahrawi people and thus supports their struggle and resistance till they are fully enabled to exercise their legitimate and inalienable right to self-determination and the completion of their sovereignty over the remaining parts of the country. This conference is a confirmation of the clarity of the Sahrawi issue from the point of view of international law. Therefore, it is an invitation to implement the United Nations Charter and resolutions of the African Union decisions calling for the eradication of one of the last manifestations of colonialism in Africa and in the world. In this context, this conference is a reminder of landmark decisions such as the International Court of Justice 1975 decision, which denies the Moroccan sovereignty over Western Sahara, or the decisions of the European Court of Justice for 2016 and 2018 respectively, where they affirm that the Western Sahara and the Kingdom of Morocco are two separate and distinct states. And they forbid the exploitation of the Sahrawi natural resources without the consent of the Sahrawi people through its legitimate and sole representative, the Polisario Front. The conference is an explicit message to the Kingdom of Morocco and its partners, especially the European Union, to immediately stop the illegal plundering and exploitation of the Sahrawi people's natural resources. Solidarity with the Sahrawi Republic, a founding member of the African Union, and a contributor to the construction of its institutions and strengthening its international status, is an assertion that the Sahrawi cause is an African one, and that the Africans, states, and peoples are committed to supporting this African peaceful people to end the horrors of war and tragedies of refuge and displacement, and the establishment of an independent and sovereign state over their whole national territory, like all colonized people and countries. The conference also emphasizes the need for full adherence and compliance with the international humanitarian law in the occupied parts of the Sahrawi Republic, and to put an end to the gross human rights violations against Sahrawis, and the protection of their political, economic, social, cultural, and other rights, and to lift the military siege imposed on the occupied territories of the land, and the release of all the Sahrawi political prisoners in Moroccan prisons, and to reveal the truth about the Sahrawi victims who disappeared as a result of the Moroccan military invasion to our country since the 31st of October in 1975. Ladies and gentlemen, like all colonized peoples, the Sahrawi people's choices and aspirations were clear and firm in their attainment of freedom and independence. When they declared the armed struggle against the Spanish colonialism, continuing their struggle against the new occupation, and proclaimed the establishment of their own state. In 1991, the Sahrawi Republic was celebrating its 15th anniversary and the 10th year as a member of the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Nevertheless, with a view to organize a referendum on self-determination for the Sahrawi people, which the Kingdom of Morocco kept obstructing for 27 years. SADC Solidarity Conference with the Sahrawi Republic is today an urgent appeal to the United Nations and its partner, the African Union, and to the Kingdom of Morocco to expedite the organization of that referendum, as it is the democratic and only solution that is endorsed by the international community and which was agreed upon by the two parties to the conflict in the Western Sahara. Should I recall here from South Africa the historical letter that was sent by the former President Thabo Mbeki to the Kingdom of Morocco, the Mohammed VI, whose summary is that intransigence of the Kingdom of Morocco and its refusal to organize the referendum is an affirmation of the relevance to recognize the Sahrawi state. Whereas we recall the spirit of optimism expressed by the number of African leaders on the eve of the admission of the Kingdom of Morocco to the Continental Organization, we hereby emphasize that this SADC Solidarity Conference with the Sahrawi Republic is a message to the African Union and to Morocco that after 2 years of its admission to the AU, Morocco is urged urgently to abide by the principles of the Union and its constitutive act and its resolutions, specifically the respect of the borders inherited upon independence. There is a contradiction with even a flagrant violation of the constitutive act of the African Union, which requires the adoption of an urgent and adequate steps whereby an African state, which is the Kingdom of Morocco, a member of the Continental Organization and body, who is illegally occupying parts of the territory of another African state, which is the Sahrawi Republic, a founding member of the African Union. At a time when it is pressing for the speedy activation of the African Troika mechanism for the Western Sahara, The SADR is ready to immediately implement the decisions of the African Union and to enter into direct negotiations in good faith and without any preconditions to resolve the conflict between us as neighbors and members of the African Union. This solidarity with the Sahrawi Republic is a clear message that it's an irreversible national, African, and international fact. It is a factor of balance, moderation, and stability in the region. The SADR is ready to work with all the African member states, including the Moroccan Kingdom, that in the spirit of cooperation, integration, mutual respect, and good neighborhood, with a view to achieve the aspirations of Agenda 2063 to serve peace, security, development, and prosperity of the region, Africa, and the world. We believe that it is vital that this conference comes out with a plan and a mechanism of follow-up within the solidarity with the Sahrawi Republic in order to culminate the efforts paid by the continent to eradicate once and for all the remnants of the colonialism and apartheid. The Sahrawi people assure you of the firm attachment to their rights and to the struggle through all legitimate means until the attainment of their full sovereignty over their independent state, no matter what the cost and no matter what the sacrifice. Africa's independence will not be achieved without the freedom of the Sahrawi people. And finally, thank you once again, and long live the African solidarity, long live Africa free, united, prosperous, and long live the SADC region, and peace be upon you all, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And we are now getting closer to the end of this opening ceremony. Before we do that, we will invite the High Table and the heads of states and the representatives for a family photo. And they will be ushered by the military liaison officers and protocol officers. But before they go out, we'll ask the media to go and prepare themselves at the camera area. Thank you. Yeah, just to clarify, the family photo, the former President Obasanjo is also invited, and the lead discussants are invited for the family photo. Members of the press, if you go and prepare so that the heads of state will find you ready. The military liaisons, please take charge. The rest will go for tea. The rest of the delegates will go for tea while the heads of states are having their family photo. Thank you. Hello? May we please take our seats? The meeting is about to reconvene. Liaisons person, please could you ask the people outside to come in? If there are people outside, may they be requested to come in because the heads of states are about to be ushered in. Hello? Hello? Yeah, maybe some of them. Oh, yeah. I'm looking at that. May we please take our seats? May the people who are standing please take the seats. The heads of states are about to walk in.
May you kindly settle? We will bring the heads of states. We can't have an hour tea. We're bringing the heads of states. Yeah, we're bringing the heads of states. Thank you.
I'll just call you.
May we take our seats, please? I'd like to call this session to order. Your Excellencies, delegates, comrades, we are now going to give His Excellency Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to give us the overview of the conference. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Your Excellencies, permit me to go on the protocol that has been firmly established by President Cyril Ramaphosa this morning. But in addition to doing that, permit me to particularly acknowledge the chair of SADC, the President of Namibia, the host president, and the President of Sahrawi Republic. And in a special way, let me acknowledge the presence of our doyen, President Museveni. Let me, of course, say that the report of what we did yesterday will be given by the chairperson of the Council of Ministers. My job is to give a sort of overview of the conference. The conference is SADC Solidarity Conference with Western Sahara. Maybe we don't need to ask why and how, because already this morning, from our three leaders who have spoken, we have got why. If we go back to the history of liberation movement in recent times, and recent times I mean since the end of the Second World War, we will see that there have been no liberation for any country or any people without solidarity. Solidarity is the vehicle by which liberation had been achieved. Of course, solidarity among the people themselves, solidarity within the country, if it's a country, solidarity with the neighbors, and solidarity within the continent. And our experience in Africa has proved that beyond any reasonable doubt, that it's only when we work together in solidarity that we achieve what we need to achieve for ourselves. So I, with my brother, the two of us who are discussants yesterday are the two groups. And my brother Simba Orache has shown confidence in me and asked me to speak on his behalf. Maybe he doesn't know what he's getting himself into. I want to start by commending the leaders of SADC for bringing about this timely conference. It is timely, it is appropriate, and it is very, very useful. As we have heard, we heard it yesterday and we heard it today, that this idea started since 2017. Even it predated the action of the Secretary General of the UN to appoint a personal envoy on Western Sahara. Maybe, may even be that it is the action or the news that SADC is going to have a Solidarity Conference that gingered the Secretary General to move the way he has moved. Be it as it may be, what is important is that the idea of this Solidarity Conference predated the action at the UN level. As we did say yesterday, we look at the resolutions that have been passed by the UN, and particularly the recent resolution of last year, which, of course, empower the Secretary General to appoint a personal envoy and to give the personal envoy the duty, function, and responsibility. And what we see is that that resolution mentioned neighbors of Western Sahara, but it did not specifically mention anything about AU. And if we go by what UN seem to have stood for in all areas of working with the regional organizations, there's the issue of subsidiarity. And in that resolution, AU seemed to have been sidelined. I believe this is a mistake. On no account should AU be sidelined for any issue of great concern to us in Africa. But of course, we in Africa have not taken this lying low. In Nouakchott last year, we came up with a solution with the Trauca, which of course is very, very important. Although the Trauca has not taken any meaningful action, but the time has come when the Trauca should now take action, particularly as a result of this conference, particularly as a result of the fact that Western Sahara issue was left dormant for some time. And if not for the action of SADC, Western Sahara issue was gradually being left in the cooler. We must thank you, members of SADC and leaders of this region, for waking up the idea and the responsibility on behalf of all of us not to allow the issue of Western Sahara to go into oblivion. We appreciate you for this. I mean, the President of Namibia and our host, President of South Africa. Yesterday, when we started the conference, we had 2 or 3 speakers. We had the welcome address from Lindiwe, my sister Lindiwe, the Minister for International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa. My sister Nebundo gave us the opening remark. The Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for International Relations and Cooperation of Namibia and the Chairperson of the Council of Ministers of SADC. And we had remarks from the representative of Faraway government, SADC. Then we went into business. And what did we do? We had 2 groups. The first group looked at the role of international community in implementing all UN resolutions and AU decisions on Western Sahara, including strengthening measures to prevent exploration of natural resources of Western Sahara. We had a second group whose role was to look at the strengthening of international solidarity with the people of Western Sahara to ensure their right to self-determination. My brother, the former foreign minister of Zimbabwe, was the lead discussant. On these 2 items, we had deep and penetrating discussion, which at times bordered on emotional discussion. And of course, that is the way it should be, because the issue we are discussing is an issue that carries a little bit of emotion with it. But one of the points that came out was that as our meeting here was going on, Morocco was holding another meeting. The chairperson of SADC made mention of that today. And yesterday, it was, is it the right thing? Of course it's not the right thing. But the fact that Morocco thought it necessary to go on another meeting while this is going on is an indication that Morocco takes it seriously. And for me, I believe that is important, that Morocco should take our gathering here as Solidarity Conference here seriously, rather than to ignore it. I believe that is something that we should take note of. We should also take note of the fact that Morocco had on its own moved out of the AU and on its own have come back to the AU. I believe that is positive, and it's positive for the solidarity that we are talking about. But how can we utilize that? I believe that we should engage in constructive and positive engagement, because Morocco in AU is useful for positive and constructive engagement than Morocco outside the AU. Talking about solidarity, I believe probably the reason why SADC was seized with the idea of solidarity for the Western Sahara issue at this point in time is because this is the last frontier of liberation in Africa. And I believe you have done the right thing by taking this up at this time. Of course, my sister, the chairperson of SADC Ministerial Council, will be giving the report of recommendations and other and issues that we talked about, and which SADC may have to follow up. But there are a few points that I want to make as a result of this particular Solidarity Conference. One is that I believe that, and today it was mentioned by the President of Namibia, that those of our friends and partners who have shown solidarity with us in our liberation effort must always be remembered. And China, Soviet Union, North Korea was mentioned. I will especially mention Cuba. And this is also from my own personal experience. Today, we talk of Gito Carnival. When President Dos Santos looked at me in the face at that point in time and said, "Will you object to going to Cuba?" And I said, "No." I went to Cuba. And one of the things that I found, apart from so many Cubans fighting in Angola on behalf of all of us for liberation of Angola and Namibia, was that President Fidel Castro had a battle map on his table, which was as up to date as the battle map that President Dos Santos had on his table. That should not be taken for granted. It's solidarity, militant solidarity, which was very helpful to us at our time of need, and we should appreciate it. And of course, in the end, in terms of sacrifice, Cuba made tremendous sacrifice in the number of Cubans who died on African soil for the liberation of parts of Africa. We are grateful to you and convey our gratitude. As I said, we have made a number of recommendations which will be put to us. But let me again talk about solidarity. If we are going to move fast, the African adage goes, you move alone. But if you are going to move far, you move together. For us, in this issue, we have to move both fast and far. So we have to go together, but we have to go together fast. And that is where solidarity comes in as well. Again, talking of solidarity, we must not leave undone what we must do. And throughout our efforts at liberation in Africa, we've enjoyed internal solidarity, we've enjoyed regional solidarity, we've enjoyed continental solidarity. And maybe one of the mistakes we made was that we disbanded the Liberation Committee of the AU too early. Maybe we should have left it until every inch of African land has been liberated. But be that as it may, we cannot reconstitute or go back to that. But I believe that the decision that was taken in Nouakchott was good enough for the Trauca to now take it upon itself to make sure that what needs to be done is done. And one of the recommendations that now every AU meeting, there should be, at least annually, there should be a report on the progress of liberation effort in Africa. And of course, when you say in Africa, you are referring to Western Sahara issue. Secondly, I believe that as part of that exercise, we should now engage directly through the Trauca, the permanent members of the Security Council of the UN. Unfortunately, South Africa is now a member of the Security Council. And since this meeting is being hosted by South Africa, and since President Cyril Ramaphosa is also a member of the Trauca, maybe, Mr. President, you are more qualified than anybody else to take on this responsibility on behalf of the AU and on behalf of SADC to appraise the UN permanent members of the Security Council with the situation in the Western Sahara. And that should be continually done. Finally, what has happened here today, or yesterday and today, is very good for Africa. And we should encourage other regional organizations in Africa to follow suit. Maybe some of them will be afraid of calling it solidarity conference with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. If they are afraid of doing that or worried about doing that, why don't they have conference on finding amicable solution to the problem of Western Sahara? I believe that is innocuous enough. It's neutral enough, but I believe all sub-regional bodies should take up this issue of conference on finding solution to amicable solution, acceptable solution to the problem of Sahrawi. And then the report of such conference should be tabled at the AU meeting. Your Excellencies, these are some of the points that we see as what has led to this, where we are, where we should be moving to, and how we should be moving forward. There's no substitute for solidarity with the Sahrawi Democratic Republic of Western Sahara for us to get the whole of Africa liberated. And until the whole of Africa is liberated, none of us can claim to be truly liberated or free. Thank you.
أعتقد أن هذا هو التضامن البديل. شكرا صاحب الفخامة على هذه التعليقات والجمل القوية والفعالة والمؤثرة، وأننا سنضمن هذه التعليقات.
Thank you very much. Give a big hand again. He is here with us. He retired for a long time ago, still working. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, indeed. Now, we are going to give a floor to a younger person to give us a report of what they have been doing yesterday. And that is the chairperson of the Ministers' Committee, who happens to be my colleague. Floor is yours.
Thank you, former President and Chair of the SADC, Your Excellency President Ramaphosa, the host of this conference, Your Excellencies, heads of state and governments, heads of delegation, and my eyes stand on the protocol established. President Obasanjo has given the overview of the conference and has really covered how the discussions went. Your Excellency, what we did yesterday was a directive from the summit that prior to the summit we should have an interaction which will include ministers, civil societies, political parties, and all the friends of Western Sahara. And that is what had happened yesterday. As President Obasanjo has mentioned, we organized our work in 2 working groups, and he has already given the themes of each of the working group. The first working group, in which His Excellency Obasanjo was the lead discussant, has dealt with the role of the international community on ensuring the implementation of the UN resolution and AU decisions on Western Sahara, including the strengthening measures against the exploitation of its natural resources. And Group 2, which was in the rapporteur, because each group had a rapporteur. The rapporteur of Group 1 was Honorable Dr. Yuni Do, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the Republic of Botswana. And Group 2, which concentrated on the importance of solidarity, the lead discussant, as already mentioned, was Dr. Shimbarashe Mubekwengwi, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Zimbabwe and current Secretary of External Relations of ZANU-PF. And the rapporteur was Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, the one who's now giving the report. Your Excellencies, I would not go into the issues as discussed because for those who attend, you agree with me that His Excellency Obasanjo has really elaborated on those issues. So therefore, I'll just go straight to the conclusions of each of the working group as they were presented yesterday by the rapporteurs of those specific groups. The conclusions of Group 1, which is based on the discussions, which were really elaborate, and the participants were coming out with issues as to what should be done. First, there was a great support to the conference and the congratulations to SADC for having organized that conference. And it was also felt that both countries, that is Western Sahara and Morocco, being members of the African Union, the centrality of the AU to the resolution of Western Sahara cannot be overemphasized. So that is one of the conclusions that came out, that we will need, or the AU need to play a central role in solving the problem of Western Sahara. It was also recommended that the issue of Western Sahara should continue to be a standing item on the agenda of the AU summit, and regular reports should be presented, and there was emphasis on discussion. It should not just be represented, but it should be presented, and then discussion should take place. It was also found that the return of Morocco to the AU should be used as an opportunity for Morocco to engage with the government of Western Sahara under the auspices of the AU. Again, this is being emphasized since they are both members of this organization. And the AU member states should use Morocco's search for friendship as an opportunity to make sure that Morocco lives up to its responsibility of the process of decolonization of Western Sahara, and also to abide by the AU statutes, particularly the Constitutive Act, when it comes to issues of self-determination. It was also found important it was also recommended that UN should put in place mechanism with the aim of stopping the exploitation of the Western Sahara natural resources, following the example of the UN Decree number 1 that was put in place in the context of Namibia. The mechanism should have penalties to address any breach of the moratorium on the exploitation of the Western Sahara resources. It was also felt that the AU, REGS, and individual member states should use their institutional relationship with European Union to raise awareness on the issue of Western Sahara in the context of their engagement with the EU and its member states, and as such mobilizing the progressive members of the European Union Parliament to support the self-determination of Western Sahara, and that the AU tracker mechanism should be made operational, and is recommended that a mechanism be found for holding regular Solidarity Conference in support of Western Sahara until this matter is brought to its logical conclusion. These are the recommendations, or these are the issues that came out during the discussions of Group 1. And then Group 2, which was now discussing on the importance of solidarity, has come out with the following conclusions. First, it was made clear that from experience, there is no substitute to solidarity. It has worked in Africa and in other parts of the world. Examples were given of Timor-Leste, Vietnam, and many other places where solidarity has strengthened the work of the indigenous people in those specific countries. It also came out clear that solidarity takes place in different forms. And in the case of Western Sahara now, we should deploy all the forms of solidarity to support the people of Western Sahara. For example, countries should offer young people of Western Sahara scholarships, organize youth exchange program as a way of preparing them to fully run the administration of Western Sahara when the whole country will gain its independence. Number 2, it was also felt that assess the immediate humanitarian needs, especially the needs of women and children living in refugee camps, and mobilize supports resources to assist them in this regard. And number 3, political parties and civil society organizations to highlight the matter of Western Sahara within their countries and within their members. Number 4, countries to make available health practitioners to assist the people of Western Sahara. And number 5, SADC member states to reassess their communication strategies on the matter of Western Sahara in order to speak with one voice. Number 6 is to strengthen in order to strengthen legal justice for the people of Western Sahara, African legal professionals have undertaken to provide their services in that regard. And number 7, all like-minded countries and organizations should highlight and maintain the issues of Western Sahara at multilateral forums to ensure that the issue is not dormant. Number 8 it's that AU should mobilize the Africans in the diaspora to support the cause of Western Sahara. Number 9, there is a need to promote strong cooperation with the European Union, such as with the European Parliament, which is beginning to show sympathy for the plight of the people of Western Sahara. And number 10, impress upon African countries to continue providing diplomatic support to Western Sahara. Number 11, the UN mission for referendum in Western Sahara, its mandate should include humanitarian and human rights issue. This has come about because it's realized it's one of those UN operations that does not have a mandate related to human rights issue. And then Spain is called upon to take responsibility for Western Sahara as the original colonial power in that country. So these are the issues that have come out. This is the summary, and when it will be finally finalized, it will then cover the situation analysis as well as the conclusions as I presented them. Finally, Your Excellency, we have to say the participation of the political parties and civil society has really enriched this discussion, and your directives has worked very well, that in this gathering we should give them a voice. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and that is the report of the work of yesterday.
I normally say Marque when she's finished. That means you clap hands. Yeah. Thank you very much. There's a very straightforward report, what they have decided. I jotted down all the points so it's easy to remember them, if I could do it. So therefore, we note your report. Thank you very much for that report. That then brings us to the end of this morning's opening and overview and reports session. I'm told you are very hungry and you would like to now go a little bit of a break to kind of, think over all the statements we made this morning and also the reports. So if the host allows me to attend this meeting, I will do so, and I'm doing that. Meeting is adjourned. Very good, good beginning.
Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. Kindly note that we have a 1-hour lunch break, so we need to be here exactly at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Akasiku melu dume.